Alex, mate, welcome to the Trademate Sports massive interview you're about to do.
Thank you for having me.
That's good, mate. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I've been trading the financial markets for since 2005, so nearly 15 years now, just over 15 years. And then over the past few years, I've made the transition to sports trading, and more specifically, trading and betting on football matches. The story obviously we'll go into later, but a few personal changes in my life came about, and it was just something that seemed to save me at the time, and I haven't really looked back since.
So how did you get into the betting world, I guess, then?
Okay, so it was on a trip to Las Vegas. I went with some friends, and basically it was during March Madness, which is a big betting thing for the Americans, which is the basketball, college basketball, and they all sit there and bet on basketball. So while we were in Vegas, we were sort of like, well in Rome, let's give it a go. I hadn't really ever done much in the betting world before then, and I didn't know anything about basketball, so we decided to bet on football. And actually, I play a lot of football. I've done it all my life, and it made sense, and I was pretty good at it. When I got back, speaking with my brother, we had a common friend who actually trades in the football markets, and we didn't know that before then. It's like one of those things where you don't really know what someone does until you start talking to them about it and talk to them about what you're doing. They're like, oh, hey, I do the same thing. And basically, he's a banker, but he does this in his spare time at the weekends. He makes a lot of money. So he said, I could teach you guys to do this. So then ultimately we sat down with him. He taught us his strategies. And then from there, sort of never looked back. And then if I look at the FX markets and things like that, there were a lot of things about football trading that appealed to me that you don't get in the financial markets. So if I'm looking at a football match, I can limit the time I'm trading to 90 minutes, or more often than not 45 minutes. I look at it in the second half. Whereas if you're trading FX and things like that, then obviously you don't know when a trade's going to happen. You monitor the trades for, it can be weeks, it can be months, and there can be nothing there, no action. When I'm trading or betting on a football match, I know that it's going to happen within this particular period of time. So if I'm sat there and I'm, let's say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday, I know that I'm going to have some opportunities to trade. Whether I make money or not, obviously that's down to the markets. My strategy will play out over the long run, but on any one particular day I may lose money. But I know that at that particular moment in time, I'm going to have something to do. And you contrast that with the financial markets, you can be sat there for weeks and not have anything to do. So.
Yeah, can you talk us through kind of what you were saying earlier off the camera, was that kind of there's a lot of stigma that surrounds betting and sports betting and trading that people don't really know, like the good side of betting. They just assume that the only way to make money is through like accumulators and things like that.
Yeah. So as you were saying before, off camera, we were talking a little bit about what could be your best and your worst trade, and I said that I might be a little bit boring because I don't really have a best or a worst trade, in that I'm fairly consistent. So bringing my experience from the financial markets, I'm not looking to take £100 and make £10,000 from one particular bet or trade. I just want to make a consistent income. And if I can generate consistent income, then if you use compound growth and things, then over time that obviously builds up. And as you were saying, in the betting market, I find that there's a lot of people that come to this that don't really have the money to be making a career of this, but they're looking at it for some sort of an easy escape, if that makes sense. So they're not particularly happy where they are in their lives, maybe financially, and they think that if they can just find a few big wins in the betting market, then that will solve all of their problems. And while that may solve some people's problems, and some people may be lucky enough to do that, I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
And I look at it much more from a trading perspective, as in this is a business, and when I sit down on a Saturday afternoon, I'm looking to make money. Okay, sometimes I make money, sometimes I won't, but if I'm consistent enough over the long run, I'll come out ahead.
Yeah. What lessons have you brought from the stock market or the investor world over to sports trading?
I think it's more consistency. So my focus, as I was just saying, is really on executing my plan. So having a strategy that I have in mind, or a bunch of strategies that I'm willing to use on a particular market within a football match, and then just being consistent in my approach to being able to executing that. So for example, this weekend, I had a horrible run. Like literally, I don't think I could have picked a trade that made money if my life depended on it. But because I come from a financial background and I've got that experience in trading and I understand odds and probability, I know that you're going to get weekends like that, and it doesn't mean that I need to stop trading my system or do something different. It just means that this is just the way the matches fell on that particular weekend. And then, next weekend or the Monday, everything will change and I'll have a bunch of matches that will make me money.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to what we say at Trademate, is that it's not about the short term, it's not about this week or today, it's about the long term, and that over time variance is going to play its part.
Exactly. It's like if you have a strategy where you say I have a 70% strike rate, it doesn't mean that you take 10 trades and 3 trades are going to lose you money and 7 trades are going to make you money. You might have to take 100 trades and the first 30 will lose you money and then all 70 will make you money. You have to understand that that's sort of how your edge plays out. It's not consistent like that.
Did you have to make a lot of adaptations to the strategies you brought in from the financial trading, or is it still pretty much the same thing and then just applying it at football?
So, I mean, the strategies obviously are different because when I'm looking at the football matches, I'm looking at what factors. Well, when you're trading any market, you need to figure out what factors are going to affect the price of what you're trading. So if we're looking at the financial markets, like FX, for example, you'd be looking at what the central banks are doing, what their policies are, what they're implying from one meeting to the next, what the economic announcements say, okay? Whereas if I'm looking at a football match, all I'm interested in is when is a goal going to be scored? Is a goal going to be scored in the first half, in the second half? Are we likely to get goalless draws? So everything's governed by those particular factors. And then I will then create strategies around what affects the price of what I'm trading, right? What I have brought from the financial markets in terms of strategy really is my attitude to risk. So and everybody's different, but I understand that I'm not somebody that can trade one of those strategies where you have one big win and 99 other losses. Some people can do that, but I'm not one of those people. So I need to get into trades where my reward to risk ratio is roughly even, if not a little bit positive. There are scalpers out there and things in the financial markets and in the betting markets that can take things where they're right 99% of the time and making tiny profits and letting that build up. But then one big win can set them back 2, 3, 4 weeks. That doesn't work for me. So I think that's probably what I brought from the financial markets.
What are you providing to your customers?
Okay, so obviously I have my YouTube channel, which I use more for sort of to be famous more than anything else. No, when I was younger, I was wanted to be an actor and things like that. So the YouTube thing is more a me thing than it is for other people. So I enjoy the fact that I get followers and things like that. It's probably my ego speaking about whatever. In terms of the service, I help people obviously make money, either by teaching them the strategies that I utilize, and if people need that little bit of extra help, then telling them what I trade before I trade it. Because I don't want to be one of these people that sit there and just put strategies out there, but there's no substance behind it. I want people to be able to see that the stuff that I teach, I actually do myself, and more importantly, that the stuff that I teach makes money. Because one of the things I find that a lot of people have a problem with, whether it be trading the financial markets or trading the sports markets, is having belief in the system. You'll get people out there that even if they kind of know that something works, they need to be able to see that it works to have any belief themselves. And they can't do that themselves. They need someone else to show them. So I kind of want to stand behind what I do and show people that it actually works, which is why I trade live with people as well.
So you said that you are trading live so they can sort of see that now you're about to place this trade and then place it themselves too.
Yeah, so I'll say to them, for example, I'm looking at Liverpool, Man United, for example, and I think that there's going to be a goal coming. I'm going to get into the markets. It might be laying the draw. It might be the next goal market at a specific price. So they know exactly what I'm going to do before I do it myself. Yeah, sometimes it actually causes me to miss trades because I'm so kind of focused on making sure that I write it down before I've done it, so that you're not sort of like a hindsight person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because obviously if one was just telling them what one did a long time after one did it themselves, then you could be getting in at like a much better price. And
yeah,
then
and that's kind of,
sort of
I
skew the
think, like
market.
morally, that's a little bit wrong.
Yeah.
So
All right, that's good.
What about yourself then? So if you've got customers who are getting on a bet before you, are you not worried that you're going to lose out on a price?
no, because I'm not scalping. I'm looking, as I said, my risk to reward. When I'm looking at a price, we're already at a pretty favourable price for getting into the market. So if it jumps a few ticks, it doesn't ruin my life. At the end of the day, I make more money and more winning trades than I do losing trades. So if I'm losing a few ticks here and there, it doesn't make a difference.
So like your bets that you like to get on, or your trades, not much of it is based around what the odds are saying?
Well, it is based on what the odds are saying, but then it's based on my perception on whether the odds. It's not a mathematical formula as such. It's based on me looking at the statistics of the teams that are playing. So let's say, for example, I'm going to lay the draw on two particular teams, and the score is 0-0, right? I'll then look at the teams that are playing. I'll see when they tend to score their goals. So, do they usually score in the first half, in which case, and they're kind of quiet in the second half, so it's unlikely there's going to be a goal now anyway, or do they come to life in the second half? Do they usually have scoring games between them and with other teams, or does one team tend to look for a 0-0 draw because they're away from home? So I'll look at things like this, and then I'll look at the price and say, okay, the price is 2.0, for example. Now, based on my perception of the statistics, if I take this particular trade or this bet, if I take this 10 times, do I win this bet 6 times at a minimum? And if I do, then it's worth taking. If it's kind of like, well, actually, there's no real pattern to the play there, and I can't decipher whether or not it's likely that either team's going to score based on the pre-match statistics or the in-play statistics, I'm not going to take it.
So what you do is obviously based around analysis, statistics, all these kind of things. How much of your time does that take?
Actually, not really that much. It used to take me more, but I'm inherently lazy, so I do things that makes my life easier. So before, there were a bunch of different statistics websites I would go to try and analyze a game. And what I did after doing this for a while and seeing that there was a lot of scope in it to make a lot of money, is I paid a developer to create me an app that kind of takes all of the statistics I like and just puts it together in one place. So actually it'll take me 30 seconds to analyze any one game.
Okay. So you don't do anything manually, like everything is done for you?
Yeah. So what will happen is, what this developer has done is I've said to him, I use these statistics, so I need to know when goals are scored. I need to know what the team's previous results are against each other. I need to know how a team performs against similar teams in the table. And I've given them all of the information that I need and the stats I need, and I've said, go get this. And then they found like APIs and things that they've done to put it all together.
Okay. Do you think you're different to like a lot of tipsters out there? Do you consider yourself a tipster?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I give out signals and stuff, and I'm a tipster. Whether I'm different or not, I don't think that's really fair for me to say, because by me saying I'm different, I'm making a judgment or taking a view on what other people do. And quite frankly, I don't really know what other people do. I focus on what I do, and I need to make sure that the people that I work with find value and make money from what I do. What other people do, it's up to them. So I can't really say if I'm different or not.
I was just curious, do your customers also get access to sort of the stats from the app, or is that something you share with them when you're like sending the trades? So
they get access to the app, so they can utilize the app if they're getting the signals and things, because I want them to have the same information as I have. So.
And is it just football that you're trading on?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can trade other markets and things, but for me, I understand football. And I understand the factors that affect football. A few people have said to me, you should look at horse racing and things like that, but I wouldn't know whether I was backing a horse or a dog or a ferret, to be honest with you. So,
okay, so you haven't thought about like branching out into like, I don't know, American football, basketball, ice hockey?
I mean, potentially, but I don't really see that there's a need. I know the football markets very well. I enjoy football. You don't have to watch football to make money, but I enjoy it. So kind of everything makes sense, and I don't need to make more money by looking at other sports. You just work on increasing your size for what you already know.
Yeah. Okay. Has there been any times, mate, where it's been tough? Any like really bad losses or a stretch of bad losses that's made you doubt yourself?
I think, as a trader, and I once had a mentor in the finance side of things, and I asked him this same question. I said, is there ever a time when and he'd sort of been trading for banks for 30 plus years, right? And I said to him, is there sort of like a time when you just are completely confident 100% of the time, every single day? And he said, no. He said, you could be doing this for 30, 40 years. And when you go through a losing period, which everybody does, I just said this weekend, I've gone through a losing period. You sit there and you question your ability, you question whether you're doing things right, what are you screwing up and things like that. And sometimes you will be doing some things wrong, and sometimes it's just the markets. But psychologically, we're all human beings. So, I don't think there's ever going to be a point in time when I'm 100 million% know that every single day is going to be, sunshine and roses. So yeah, there's always tough times, but thankfully there are enough good times to carry me through the tough times and to show me that actually bad times, they happen. And then you're going to I have one bad weekend here, and then I'm going to get 2, 3, 4, 5 good weekends coming up. And it's just the way the markets go.
Can you talk us through like some of the mistakes that you have made?
Yeah, I think I'm a prime culprit for when I take a particular losing trade, or if I take a string of losing trades where I feel that maybe the stats weren't as good as they are, I will take trades there. They're not the worst trades in the world, but they aren't the best either. So I'll kind of sit there and think to myself, well, this one, I've taken a few losing trades. This one's actually okay. It kind of fits my rules and things, so I'll take it. Where ordinarily, if I was on a good run, I perhaps wouldn't do that. I've cut that out a lot over the years. As I said, I've been doing this for 15 years. But if there's one thing that I'm particularly bad at, it's probably that.
Okay, so do you have like, when you look at like a losing bet, are there some losing bets that you look at and think, that was actually like a good bet?
Yeah, absolutely. All of my, I try to make it so that all of my losing bets are good bets. One of the things that I teach people is that when you get into a trade, you have to have an internal conversation with yourself. And one of the things I ask myself when I get into a trade is, if this trade loses, or if this bet loses, okay, and I'm looking back at this trade in an hour's time, am I going to be wound up? Am I going to be angry that I've taken this trade? And if I am, don't take it. If I can look back at this in an hour's time, having lost it, and be like, you know what, everything was lined up, I'll take it again, then I'm happy to take the trade.
Yeah, it's quite similar to what we say, is that like we don't, when you analyze your results, you shouldn't, I mean, it's obviously very hard not to, but we don't say like go and look at your profits and see how you're doing. Like you should be watching or looking at the edges that you're getting over every trade. And if you're getting positive edges, if you got on at 190 in odds, but it dropped down to 185 on the sharp markets, then that's a good thing. Even if it wins or loses, you just created value. So you've talked about like your mistakes that you've made over the time. What do you think is like the biggest mistake out there that sports bettors make?
That's easily the fact that most sports bettors, retail traders and things, they want to make a lot of money from very, very little. So their mistake is that they will get involved way, way too big for the account that they're trading. So for example, the trades that I take, I'll be risking 0.25% of my account at any one time on one particular trade, and you'll get people that will be doing 10, 15, 20%. People will come to me and say, I've made 50% today. And I'm like, well, that's great, but just like never do that again, please. Because if you consistently aim to make 50% in a day, at some point you're going to screw yourself up and you'll lose everything. So.
Yeah. So you're saying the most you ever risk of your bankroll is 0.25%?
Sometimes it can be sort of maybe 0.5%, but rarely above that.
Okay. Do you have a staking strategy?
Yeah, I just kind of remain consistent. So I know that I won't, and so my 0.25%, it won't be every single trade I will work out what 0.25% is. It will be what's 0.25% of my bank at this particular moment in time. And then I'll trade up until a benchmark. And then when I get there, I'll recalculate what that percentage is and then trade accordingly. Because one of the things I found that if you try and recalculate between every trade is, one, it's a pain in the ass, okay, and two, what you find is obviously when you're making money and then you're putting the percentage up, or that percentage relative to your account obviously increases the amount that you're trading. You take a loss, and then suddenly you're in a position where you need 2 trades to get back to where you were initially, which, as I said earlier on, isn't something that works with me psychologically.
So how do you define between bets? Like how much you're going to stake on every single bet, or is it literally the exact same stake every time?
It's more or less the same stake. Well, no, actually that's not completely correct. So it's the same stake on most of the strategies. Okay, so the strategies in the second half where I'm looking for a goal to be scored is going to be the same percentage. There'll be some trades which will be first half trades where I would risk less, because even though you have the statistics and things with you, no one needs to win or lose a game in the first half. So I find the first half's a little bit more unpredictable to trade.
Okay. So you've kind of said what the worst mistakes you think sports bettors make. If you could give any sports bettor out there any bit of advice, what would be the main bit of advice you'd like to give them?
I would say that what you really, really need to do is look at being profitable. It doesn't matter with what amount that is. Okay, look at it as being a percentage, and always know that at some point, once you're profitable, you can increase the size of your trading. Okay, whether that be through finding partners to trade with, or whatever, or you saving, or whatever it is, you're going to find more value earlier on in learning how to do this and doing this properly. If you're doing it with £1,000, do it with £1,000. It doesn't really matter. If you can do 10% or 20% a month with £1,000, that's fantastic. That's once 200 quid a month, right? That's not life changing right now, but if you can do that over 6 months or a year, then suddenly, you can find partners who you can go on with, and obviously have more to trade with, or do things like we're doing right now, and help other people do it. So there's a skill there in learning to make money, and really just learn that skill and then figure out what you're going to do with that afterwards.
Yeah, I think sometimes people just don't consider that, it takes time to learn the craft.
Yeah.
And if you are able to start making a bit of money while you're growing, then that's amazing. Like, whether it's trading or poker or betting, like everyone starts at a certain level and doesn't necessarily have that much money to commit to it. But if you just do it over time, you can get compounding effects and everything. So it's just you need to learn the skill, and then you can sort of get increasing returns eventually.
Exactly. And like you guys were talking about value bets and things like that, really kind of focus on doing something that's repeatable. If you can make 50 to 1 on a particular bet, but you can't do that again, what's the point? Focus on learning something that that you can do again and again and again, and you can rely on it, and you can get consistent returns.
So what would you say, mate, is the biggest lesson that betting has taught you?
It's humbling. Okay, so betting or trading is humbling in that you can really, really build yourself up to thinking that you know everything and you are the best in the world, but it can very, very quickly turn around. So really just remain grounded with everything that you're doing, because just as quickly as you can kind of like rise to the top, you can very, very quickly lose a lot as well. So kind of not to believe your own hype, not to believe your own account at some point. If you go on a really, really good run, it can feel like you're never going to lose and you're just like the oracle, but you're not. So just really to learn that and to understand that it's about being consistent, and it's about remaining grounded, and everything else will take care of itself.
Do you have a process of dealing with variance? So do you analyze your results a bit more when you're going through a tough time, or do you kind of just keep sticking with what you're doing?
No, I mean, it is helpful to look at your past results. So I will look at my P&L and stuff and just be like, you know what, I'm still profitable. Like with any graph, if it's a price graph in the sports markets or the FX or the stock markets, it doesn't go like that. It goes like this, right? So if you look at your overall P&L, you can see that you're doing this, and yeah, you're taking a dip, but it's not it's not a bigger dip than anyone previously, and you're still net positive, then obviously that helps.
Where do you trade, mate? Do you trade on like the sharp bookies, or are you still with soft bookies?
I use Betfair and Smarkets and BetDAC and the exchanges and things like that.
Okay. Have you ever been limited by bookmakers?
I haven't been limited, but I don't trade with bookmakers, so I use the exchanges.
Okay, so you've never bet with a soft bookie or anything like that? Oh, okay.
No, there's no real particular reason other than when I first started, I found Betfair. So, it's not like I have anything against them or I read horror stories or any crap like that. It's just what I ended up doing.
Yeah. And what do you think about the betting world, mate? Is there anything you'd like to change or anything you don't like about it?
The betting world for me, and we were talking a little bit off camera about obviously coming from the trading world to the betting world, and in some ways the betting world is not scared. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. I'm a little bit sad for the people that are involved in the betting world, like sort of not at the low level, but the new level, so to speak, because I think that there's a lot of propaganda and advertisement out there about, making very, very quick riches, overnight get rich schemes, the massive odds and things like that. And I don't think you can make money at this, you can make an income at this, but not with that particular approach. And I think far too many people come to this with the approach that they're going to be able to quit their job tomorrow and start betting full-time next month. It's not the reality. For some people, they'll be able to do it, but they don't approach it like a business. And I really would like it if we looked at the betting industry and the way that people came into it, is they looked at it as being a business, as being a legitimate way to make money, because it is. You're putting your wits up against the bookmakers or other bettors and traders and things like that. So it's just as legitimate as trading the stock market or the FX market. So kind of give it the respect that it deserves. And I think people in the long run will then benefit from that.
So a lot of the bookmakers, they do a lot of advertisements promoting, get your accas on, and you just need to risk £5 and then you can win at 100 and odds on this ACA. It's so great. So what do you think about those sort of promotions?
I think that's terrible. It's kind of one of the reasons that in my career and teaching people and things like that, that even in the FX markets, I've never really had partnerships with bookmakers or things like that or brokers, because I find that they're obviously, what's the word for it? They aren't aligned in what they're trying to achieve. Right? The bookmaker wants the person to come on and put their record on, and they're going to recommend something that is obviously in their best interest. It's not in the punter's best interest. So I don't like it. I don't have a problem with exchanges, because obviously, people like Betfair, they're taking a commission and they're putting you up against other people. So the liquidity is the market. But the advertising, I just think, as I said before in the previous question, I think that the way that we approach this could be a little bit better, but they're targeting the people in the worst situations, which I don't like.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some articles on this in the past, and like accumulators being one of the rookie mistakes that bettors make. And it's like every single bet you place on the accumulator, the bookmaker has a margin. And when you multiply those together, the margin of the bookmaker just increases and increases because it multiplies. So it's kind of like the more bets you put on your accumulator, the more you increase the edge of the bookmaker.
Yeah, exactly. I actually did a video about this not so long about accumulators, and it's not something that I do a lot. But when I do it, I'm not putting 5, 6, 7, 15 teams on. It might be 2, 3, or 4 teams, and put some insurance in there as well. But not that there's any sure thing out there, but just very, very high probability games where I think that the odds don't really make sense for what the teams are playing. So I agree completely. It's not.
Do you also look to trade out of those accumulators then, or letting it run towards to the end of the game?
It really depends. As you said, the thing with accumulators is that the bookmakers, they have everything for themselves, right? So even the trade out, when there's no value in, they'll give you a particular cash out value. And what I've found anyways, for the most part, the value isn't really there. You may as well, if you're going to trade out at some points with the sort of profit that they give you, may as well not be in there in the first place. But that's why it's not really the core of what I do. I do it every now and then for some fun, but it's not the core of how I make my money.
What does a normal day and week look like for you when you are sports trading? Like, when are you getting up, when are you getting started, when are you finishing?
Yeah, okay, so A normal week in sports trading, there's not a lot that happens until the games are on, and I do most of my trading at the weekends, so Friday through Sunday, sometimes Monday, depending on what games are on. So most of my week's spent at the gym, making some videos, and then when it comes to the actual trading part, I will spend an hour or so before the weekend going through the various games of the top leagues. So I try to highlight which games are likely to provide certain scenarios. So which games, if it's 0-0 at the 70th minute, if the in-play stats, if it meets the in-play stats sort of criteria, would be good games to lay the draw in. And I'll look for the main ones there. And I do that not because you can't do that in play, because I look at other games in play as well, but sometimes I have my kids at the weekend and things like that, and if we're out, we're at the cinema and doing stuff like that, I don't want to not be able to make money, so I just need to be able to look at my phone and make sure that I can see what's going on, and then I'll have the spreadsheet on my phone, like, oh, that one, that meets that criteria, enter the trade.
Do you also bring up the games that you are trading on like your TV or computer screen or whatever, or just need the markets?
No, I find that when I watch games that I trade, I become too emotional about the teams that are playing and I make stupid decisions. I'm much better just looking at the statistics and looking at the stats interpretation. So what the people that are watching the game, if they're saying it's a dangerous attacker, it's a shot on goal, whatever, that's more black and white to me. Whereas if I'm looking at a game and I'm seeing that I think that I'm seeing a different pattern of play to what's being put on the screen, then I get conflicted and I make stupid decisions. So. And I never bet on Arsenal.
Okay, so what are you most proud of in your sports betting and trading career?
I think, well, there's a few things. First of all, I think in my trading and betting, and I'm going to kind of put them as one here, will be the journey and the transition that I made. So when I went to university, I studied film, which has got nothing to do with this at all. So a lot of it was, what I did was self-taught, so I'm quite proud of that fact. And the fact that I've been able to make a career and make a living out of something that, most people can't do. They've got that statistic that 95% of people fail, whether it's trading or betting or whatever. So I'm kind of in that 5% of people that make money. So I'm proud of that. And I'm also proud of the achievements of the people that I work with. I've got guys who been struggling to do things all their lives, and then I've given them a new lease of life, so to speak. Actually, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was doing a presentation, and this older guy, was quite emotional. He came into the presentation, and he was sort of in tears. And he came up to me and he gave me a hug, and I was like, I didn't know him until he introduced himself. Then I recognized his emails. He's like, I just wanted to say thank you, and I was like, okay. Said, like, really, you've really helped an old man out here. You've given me. I've been trying to do this for a while, and your strategies and stuff has really, really helped me. And his name was Dick. So Dick, if you're watching, I remember that moment, dude. But that, things like that, really, I'm proud of the fact that I can affect other people's lives. I like that.
All right, cool, mate. And finish off with, like, what are your plans for the future? Like, where do you see yourself and your business going?
So obviously, I've been trading various different markets since 2005. So I don't think that's ever going to change. I'll always I like the process from trading, whether it be FX, stocks, or the football market. So I like that process. I like looking at statistics, numbers. So I don't think that will ever change. Obviously, from a business perspective, I hope to be able to educate and teach more people. My app is just super cool, so just playing with that, and that's sort of like my pet project, so we'll see what happens with that. But I don't think there's anything, if I look back 10 years ago and look to myself now, looking 10 years on, I don't think I could say that this is what I would be doing 10 years ago, because quite frankly, I didn't even know that these markets existed. Since I found them, I love them, but in 10 years' time, there might be something else that's I'm equally as passionate about. So I think just really, the one thing that won't change is that I will be out there doing my thing, helping people, that I enjoy doing that. So